What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Walkout Network. It's your man Ant Walker here with the latest edition of the Living Death Show. So before we begin today, big apologies. We had to take last week off. My man Jay got sick. I was out of town, and it just didn't make sense to try to force it on you guys. But we're back. Ben is traveling right now, so he is unavailable to join us. He'll return next week. But let's go ahead and introduce a man that you know, the man with the stats, the facts, the figures, and the numbers. He is the associate editor of SureDog.com, also my good friend, Mr. Jay Petrie. What's going on, Jay?
I know you know this, but for the audience to have their edification, we almost thought about scrapping this week too, because it was just going to be the two of us and keep things simple and travel. And I just got finished with COVID, and I'm negative now, so don't worry about it. We're good. But came around the bend. But I watched the fights. I didn't have to work them because I was on vacation and with COVID, so that was some vacation. But I felt like really wanting to talk about them, like just squawk about them. And I feel like this is a perfect opportunity, even if just the two of us. Duffy can play along later. I'm curious of his thoughts on some of these hot topics that we got going here. But when we can sit down and talk together, I feel better. Just like almost like a cathartic event. And my stat of the week is not a very inventive one. It is not related to MMA. It is that I have contracted one strain of COVID. And across 2.5 years, I'm actually pretty okay with that. But I've only been hit by COVID once, because I know a lot of people that have been struck by it 3 times or more. So getting out of it and coming out the other side, having some crazy symptoms. And I hope I sound all right. And let's get after it. What are you thinking?
Absolutely. I'd like to add a stat of the week as well.
Please.
Also, one for there are 3 guys that are on this show on a regular basis, and only one of them has not contracted COVID so far. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, man.
Why did you say that, though?
I'm out here ducking it like Mayweather's head movement. So that's what's going on. So hopefully I keep this streak alive.
Congratulations. You better go order some tests from the government.
I know, right? I really just screwed myself by saying
that.
It'll
be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be great in my household. Other than that, I mean, you got to remember to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, and tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. It is good to see you, Jay. It is good to talk about some mixed martial arts. So let's get right into it. We're going to do things differently this week because it is just the two of us. And hey, why not?
We can make it if we try.
We can. We're going to do our best. So let's start this week off with quick hits. We did have a few fights to kind of gloss over before we talk into some meatier subjects. But Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira was last week. So let's go ahead and Jay, for the purposes of me not saying crazy, can you go ahead and ask me a question
about that? Well, Jan Blachowicz won the main event of what was ESPN 36 Vegas ? I don't keep track of the Vegas numbers. He won by injury, 3rd round, and called for his shot at Glover Teixeira's belt, the one he lost. I guess my question to you is: did he actually on a 1-fight win streak? Did Jan Blachowicz really make a case for a title rematch against Glover Teixeira?
I would say so. He hung in there with a guy who we kind of thought was going to be next up for a title shot in Rakic. And who else is there really right now that's making a standout case? I don't really see too many people out there at 205 that's saying this is the guy for sure. We've got some prospects, we've got some things that are happening that is exciting, but why not? If Blachowicz went out there, had a good performance, depending on the results of the next title fight, okay, I'm good with it.
I'm watching out for that Magomed Ankalaev guy, though. He's fighting Anthony Smith soon.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, there can be disruptions, but would that be the worst thing in the world?
And at the same time, we know Anthony Smith. He's I don't want to call him a gatekeeper because he's way better than that, but he's like a top 5 gatekeeper. He's the kind of guy who like, you shall not pass, and he will knock you right back down. So we can't just look into it and say Ankalaev's next, because that's a real toughie for him.
Absolutely, yeah. Anthony Smith is no easy fight for anybody. So, all right, Jay, I'm gonna ask you something here.
Yeah.
Was Caitlin Chukagian and Amanda Hebus the true fight of the night at
Ooh.
UFC on ESPN 36? Like you, I can't remember what the Vegas number is.
It was the first time that Caitlin Chukagian had ever earned a post-fight bonus in the UFC. So props to her. She hasn't finished the fight, so the only way she would get it is by a performance of the night 3-rounder, or 5-rounder, which doesn't happen very often, and no finishes to speak from. It was one of her most entertaining fights. I'll give her that. Amanda Hebus took it to her and did some of the things I wasn't sure she would do. But in terms of pure entertainment, Grant Smolka won it for me.
Yeah, fair enough right there.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, please ask me a question.
I will ask you a question and we're going to leave the UFC because Eagle FC had an event in Miami this past week. I don't know if you tuned into that disaster piece on the Flixcast app or Flixcast or whatever Flixcast or Flexcast. I don't care. Anyway, the main event was Junior Dos Santos going to end his losing streak in his first non-UFC fight since we were all babies against Yorgan De Castro, a guy who couldn't seem to get it going against Greg Hardy. And Dos Santos lost. And Khabib said he looked great until the loss because he threw out his shoulder with it. He punched and he threw his shoulder out, dislocated, and he injured that way. And Khabib, the promoter, one of the promoters, Eagle, says JDS may still get a shot at Fedor Emelianenko at the cross-promoted Eagle Bellator event. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes all the sense in the world to me because none of this makes sense. Like that, it fits perfectly. This is a fight that we wanted to see before JDS signed to Eagle. Like, oh, this is the perfect guy for Bellator to snatch up to fight Fedor. And Fedor, despite strangely having a stake at top 10 ranking in the world heavyweight, it's still sort of a freak show thing that this is still going on. So why not JDS? Why not have the name value? You'd be lying to me if you said you wouldn't be excited to see that fight.
Oh, I wouldn't ever dare lie to you about that.
Yeah, you're too truthful for that, Jay.
No. Fedor Emelianenko is the number 14 heavyweight in the world, according to Sherdog, as of Monday. And that's legit. And that's because of who he's beaten and what he's done along the way. The only guys that have beaten him have been better ranked guys. And did something else happen at that Eagle card? Something in the co-main event that you want to talk about?
Yes, Jay. Let me ask you something real quick about that. Are you the slightest bit surprised that Hector Lombard versus Thiago Silva ended because of a dumb choice?
On certain betting sites, there are prop bets that come out for different kind of results that may happen on fight cards. Eagle FC is still a regional promotion, so it didn't have this spread of prop bets. All it had was the money line and the over for 2.5 rounds. If it had this fight ends due to some dumb stuff, I would have probably thrown money down on it because it just reeked of something stupid is going to happen here. And by Jove, we got it. I can't believe it, but I can so believe it. Like, of all the fights in this card, you look at the lineup and you go, well, I know something dumb is happening here.
Yeah, it's like when we were talking about like the Czech Congo's most recent fight, when like you see him on the card, like how many fouls are going to take place in this fight. It's just a given. The only surprise for me about this fight was that it didn't end disqualification by domestic violence.
Oh,
that's the only thing that surprised me. Like, wow, could you have asked for a bigger train wreck than these two being anywhere in the same room? And they were training partners as well, right? Yeah. So
he punted him like he was in. Well, no, because oh boy, let me see. Kaposa, hey Kaposa, does ACA have or allow for soccer kicks? No, they don't. I didn't think so. Yeah. So like Thiago Silva, when he left the UFC, went over to Russia and fought in ACB and stuff like that. Which is the same kind of company. But I don't believe soccer kicks were allowed. He fought in KSW too, which they don't allow soccer kicks. So where did he go? Hey, let me punt this dude. That'll work. I'm in Miami.
Yeah. It's like he was training in like the prison in one of the Undisputed sequels.
That's right. This is the title eliminator fight Boyka. Oh man.
Oh man.
Like, I swear, like, these organizations, and it's not always their fault, but it is when they make these fights, can't seem to get out of their own way. Like, Eagle had the chance to have, and they did this on purpose. This was 100%. Junior Dos Santos gets a win over a former UFC heavyweight, back on track, dynamite performance. You know what and then boom, elevates to Fedor. And that fizzles out because he throws his own shoulder out because he's, he's 38, 39. And that's just what starts to happen.
Yeah, and like a shop worn
Yeah.
38,
Oh, yeah.
39. Yeah.
And then you match Hector Lombard, Thiago Silva, and just be like, well, this is going to be, it's like the meme of the little person, the little critter sitting in the coffee shop that's on
Oh,
fire.
this, yeah, it's like, oh, this is
It's like,
fine.
this is fine. As Ali and Rizvan and the people matchmake this card, be like, this is fine.
Yeah, it's like I understand like Hector Lombard and Thiago Silva with the names and the legacies that they've established years ago being still active. Like I get that, and other promotions wanting to use them. You don't put them together like these two, because these two personalities are train wrecks in and of themselves. So if you put them together, you know something really stupid is bound to happen. I would think the better use for both of them would be used as stepping stones for other people they want to build up.
Exactly.
Put them in different bouts.
Yes.
Just keep them away from each other. Good Lord.
Well, they're going to rematch. It has to happen.
And you know I'm going to watch, right?
So, are you kidding me?
I mean,
the line on DQ. If for some reason there are more lines available, a lot of books do KO, TKO, and DQ. I'm putting money on that line because that was about as close to his DQ, and it probably should have been as possible. But
and while we're at it, maybe make it a 5-rounder to increase the chances that something dumb is going to happen. Like give them more room to mess up.
Definitely, I'm down with that.
Why not? Why not? All right, so Jay, let's keep things pushing here. Saturday night, Ketlen Viera scored a split decision win over Holly Holm. How did you score it, and what are you making of the madness as far as the scoring debate that has taken place since?
Well, this was one of the first UFC cards in a great deal of time that I have not scored or play-by-play, besides one in Singapore and one anyway. It's very rare that I'm not play-by-play or scoring cards. I mean, I've in the past few years of Sherdog, I've scored and play-by-play 1,500 UFC fights. Like, holy smokes, I know. And so I wasn't doing that. But when UFC fights happen and you working them and you're not assigned to them and you're just watching them, you get that feeling. Like when the referee is announced, I get that feeling of, okay, here we go, even though I'm not actually writing anything. And so I was kind of watching and doing it that way, and you're like, stop, you're off the clock. I scored it 3 rounds to 2, Ketlen Viera. I had it the second, third, and fourth rounds. I had her winning those rounds. Holm won the first and Holm won the fourth. I didn't care for the 4 minutes of clinch time in one round or whatever, because of whatever Viera did, and the harder hitting, she hit much harder than Holly Holm did. I enjoy the conversation that blows up out of these fight cards, because I'm sure that most of you who are watching this show, and you've seen it too, see on Twitter just an eruption of bad takes and funny calls and everything like that. Now, I'm a unicorn. I've read the unified rules. I've read the addendums to the unified rules about the different criteria, and I've read the unaddendum, which is when they said, okay, disregard these because what the hell are we doing here, ABC? So I'm in tune with these, but I am not an absolutist like some friends of mine that go, there is only one way to score this fight, because I don't feel that's the case, because there's subjectivity, right? I mean, you score these fights. You and I have been doing this for a long time, and we are experts. Let's not wimp around here. We are experts in this field, and we have put in the time and studied and everything like that. And you and I can watch a fight and still, you may have Holm winning, and that's perfectly okay. Like there's no absolute. How can that be when there's subjective things like this in the scoring field? And to see black and whites and absolutes thrown out there so aggressively kind of puts me off more than anything. I'm a proponent of open scoring, and I don't care of your art. You're the royal you, not you, Ant Walker. The royal you. I do not care of your arguments against it, taking the suspense away, or that there people will coast, or that they'll stall or anything like that. There's no evidence in MMA thus far with open scoring to suggest anything like that, and it's kind of too bad that there are proponents against it. But as long as we have the commission says we do, nothing will ever happen. And did you watch this fight live? Did you catch it later? Did you study it and hate it and drag it out and watch it 47 times like Luke Thomas? And
definitely was not watching that fight 47 times like Luke Thomas. I didn't watch it live. I caught up on it later on, but it was before I actually saw that I was going to be asked about scoring this specific fight on on the outline that you prepared for today's show. So I was just kind of watching it just to see what was going on. And I did not have the time nor the desire to rewatch all that clinch control, but if I'm remembering correctly, I had Holm winning 3-2. I think I know for sure gave Holm the first round.
Yeah. And
the fifth
those were pretty
was
clear.
yeah, and then I remember the third being kind of up in the air, and I leaned toward Holm, and I think it was because of the clinch time. So and it was one of those things where like I watched it and saw the decision, and I went on Twitter to just kind of backtrack and see some of the reactions. It was like you people are getting all up in arms about this, like. And also too, especially with someone like Holly Holm, like I get that Viera was the one who landed the harder strikes. Holm did it without me looking at the stats. Just from what I saw, it looked like Holm landed with more frequency.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she has a style that is very pleasing to the judges. Like the way she blitzes, the way she throws the combinations and stuff. Even as annoying as it can be, like her kias a lot of time can sway judges. So like she has a style that's made to win a point fight. So when she wins a point fight, I can't be surprised. And then when you couple in the fact that while Viera had moments of better offense, of better like offensive maneuvering, she spent a lot of time pushed up against the fence, a lot of time with her arms tied, a lot of time where she couldn't implement her game. So to look at that as a robbery anyway is just nuts. Like this was a close fight. It happens, and I'm amazed that people who I respect their opinions of, who quite honestly watch fights more frequently and are more active in this world than I am right now, are still just like robbery, and just and so vehement about it. And even the open scoring debate for this doesn't seem to make much sense to me, because an open score wouldn't make the judges look at it any differently.
No.
It'd just be something that's affecting you at home while you're watching on TV in the corner or something, and maybe that will affect the outcome of the fight, but it doesn't affect the judging itself.
Right.
So these are separate conversations that somehow keep getting conflated. I don't quite understand it.
I appreciate you framing it that way, because there are several arguments that are counter and against open scoring, but they pull in different, like the scoring will, like it will be scored the same. I don't know how. I mean this with all due respect to some of the people who are learned people in the sport who are saying things. I'm like, have you seen open scoring before? I mean, honest and truly, there are some questions that people were raising that made me wonder, do you know how it works? Have you seen it? We're doing it recently. We're doing it now. Like Invicta's been doing it for almost 2 years now, and it has worked very well. I mean, the studies have been done. There was still a very low sample size, but the studies so far are showing that there's no ill effects, and the fighters are being informed between rounds. And what they'll do is the commission will have the scores, and they'll have the scores of all three judges, and they'll go boom, boom, boom. You can't see it because it's a blank. Boom, 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 and then here's the scores, and this is how you won the round, 10-9, blue and red corners. It's very cut and dry. It's very simple. It's informative, and it doesn't detract from what's going on. Like, I don't want to get into. I don't really don't want to get into the weeds of this, because we could spend days on this. But some of the arguments aren't made in good faith, like arguments that if open score were implemented, fewer judges would want to be involved. Why? There'd be no different accountability. There'd be no more transparency other than you'd know during the fight how the rounds are scored. The judges are still going to hand in those scorecards, and you're still not going to get explanations because they don't owe you them. Judges aren't going to fear open scoring. Like there's no like Kansas and Florida and Colorado aren't like we have a judging shortage because of open scoring, or all of the kickboxing matches in Europe.
Yeah.
There's
And
no
like the
hidden
thunderous boos of the crowd when the score is flashed on the big screen in the arena. Like it wouldn't matter. Like
there's no
yeah.
this is another argument I saw raised, a concern that a learned media person had, that a person in the corner that disagreed with the scores would accost the judge. When has that ever happened?
Come
that
on
at the
now.
end of a fight, a corner person or a fighter will go to a judge and demand accountability and accost them. So how would that happen between rounds that they would suddenly this would play a factor?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's strange arguments that I see raised today, Monday. I see coming out from people like that's not a thing. This if you have a question or a concern about open scoring, say for instance, the commission has the scorecards and they make a typo, they make a mistake. That has happened rarely, but it has happened so far. And as soon as that happens, the commission immediately rectifies it, goes to the corner, hey, we made a mistake, you won this round instead. And that's the end of it. It's not, no, we thought we were up, but we were down. These big drama moments are so overblown, and I don't understand them in terms of an open scoring debate. It's not a sport killer. Like, could
Like
you
Greg
imagine
Jackson.
watching a basketball game, being like, and not keeping numbers and keeping the tabs on the baskets, and then being like, God, I hope we won, hope my team won, and then having the suspense of the final decision. Why do we need the suspense? If you'll allow me, we just talked about legitimacy and these kinds of scorecards that are subjective. That you and I can have Viera and Holm, and we're both okay, and we're both right in a degree because we're applying the scoring criteria as it is. It's a subjective criteria. So how would it not behoove the contestants in this event to know the subjective scores, to realize if their game plan is working, and if they should switch strategies, if they should take more risks, whatever it may be, to adjust accordingly if they choose to adjust accordingly. It blows my mind. It truly does, that there's a backlash. And you know what the weird thing is? The backlash is mostly media based. There was a study done by The Athletic, which, we love you, Athletic, for that brief moment where you were doing good things to the sport and didn't bomb out on us, that polled fighters anonymously, like 100 or 200 fighters, pro MMA fighters, about a whole bunch of topics. And one of the questions was about open scoring. And if I remember correctly, upwards of 80% or more were in favor of open scoring. These are the people affected by open scoring, and they want it. Why do fans and media have any say that they shouldn't? I'm off my soapbox now.
Hey, I get it, man. And here's the thing, like I'm okay with someone not wanting open scoring. Like I'm okay with that. And there is good argument for it not to be implemented, but none of it centers around corners accosting judges.
Right.
None of it centers around realistic things necessarily. It's just how you enjoy the experience. I'm okay with not having open scoring and having the suspense on the judges, reading the judges scorecards toward the end. Like it does add to
it sure does
the watchability in the moment. But aside from that, it kind of doesn't matter. I guess you could start, like the way you said about corners adjusting to certain judging and all that. That makes for an interesting wrinkle in the action, and that's cool. But nobody's going to get accosted for this. Like the crowd isn't going to like hang someone, at the scorer's table or anything for this. So I'm not a fan of that level of argument. But let's keep things moving before this whole show turns on its head. All right, on to the next topic, Jay. Michel Pereira gets himself a victory over Santiago Ponzinibbio Saturday. Michel Pereira, obviously one of the guys who you think of, high flying style, excitement, crazy, just dancing in and out the cage and whatnot. But he's turned in some serious meat and potatoes performances lately. Do you think the wild child has finally been tamed?
Do you know, and this is an open question, exactly who he trains with? Like, I know his camp. It's Overcome, and I know he works with a bunch of people in Brazil. But like, to look at a camp and be like, well, this is obviously Faraz Zahabi, kind of that kind of situation or something like that. I can't look to a coach and a trainer that has changed him, and I say that on purpose because I don't believe he has changed camps since going to the UFC to join an Extreme Couture or one of those the staple places that'll teach you more fundamentals and what have you. I mean, this is a guy who's 28. He's 28. He's still a kid. He theoretically is not in his prime yet. Although if you look at that monster, you'd say otherwise. And he's had what? This was his 41st professional
Something,
fight.
yeah, like 41
So
fights, yeah.
this isn't like a 9-2 contender series can or whatever. This is not some kid that's coming out of it. So he's kind of who he is. So to see him adjust his style to more of a power punching, can get you takedowns, has been interesting a development to watch because it hasn't been, to my knowledge, prompted by anybody besides himself. And that's really interesting. And maybe if somebody in the comments is aware of something else, I'd love to hear about it. But I believe this is the kind of thing that he thought, wow, I completely ruined myself when I fought Tristan Connolly and got out grappled by a featherweight, which is, Tristan Connolly fights at 145 pounds. And I think Michel Pereira actually missed weight for that fight. And adjusted and stopped doing most of the crazy things he did, and it has worked in his favor. How do I know? He's won 5 fights in a row, and I had Santiago Ponzinibbio winning that fight. I had him being able to do. I think I even said in my little brief write up that the fundamentals will beat the flashy stuff every time. And then Demolidor has some pretty good fundamentals with a real solid left straight, right overhand. Some simple things he's done, I am very surprised to see him doing. So I think if anybody's tamed him, it's him.
Yes, absolutely. Look at the results that he had, when he's flipping and jumping around the cage. Like, to lose to Tristan Connolly, a guy who was brought in at the 11th hour and was 2 weight classes away from where he prefers to fight. And Michel Pereira is dancing and flipping around to get to the cage, dancing and flipping around once he gets there, and burns himself out within the first round, and then just gets absolutely just washed on the floor for the rest of the fight. It's embarrassing to have him pretty much have his way with Diego Sanchez, and then some fluke knee that he throws trying to be crazy gets him disqualified. It's like, wow, that's got to be embarrassing, and what a stain on your record, and you got to have your paycheck.
Yeah.
And this is not even taking into account that before he was in the UFC, he was not a standout prospect. He was a guy who was hovering around 50-50, for his win percentage, and he got on. Just he was doing all the crazy stuff, and it didn't land him success on the regional circuit.
Hey, I want to interrupt you with a very important question you raised.
So
Do you think show and win money changed him because
I'm sure.
he wasn't just fighting for a purse like in road fighting championship or heat or SBC in Serbia when they just pay you, boom, here it is.
I would like to think so. It will make logical sense, like especially that Diego Sanchez fight, where you essentially had the fight won.
Oh,
You
big time.
make a mistake, and now half your paycheck is gone. Of course that's going to have an effect. He's a prize fighter. He fights for money, so of course the money is going to be important. And then you talk about his ascension in welterweight rankings right now, or just the hierarchy of the division. If you couldn't crack past anything when Tristan Connolly featherweight was your roadblock, and Diego Sanchez, who I hate to say it, has been washed for like, close to 10 years at this point. Like when you couldn't get a W over them, and it's like you're in this holding pattern in the lower rungs of the UFC's welterweight division. Well, maybe it's time to change things if you want to get to the top of the division. If you want to fight the Santiago Ponzinibbio's, a guy who back in the Woodley era was my dark horse to dethrone Woodley. Like this is a guy who very recently was very, very highly regarded.
Yeah.
The previous version of Michel Pereira would get absolutely annihilated
Yes,
by any version of Santiago
that's exactly
Ponzinibbio.
right.
Yeah, so this was a self-preservation thing. This is to get more money, to not lose your win bonus. This was to get higher placement in as far as your contract is concerned. Like he comes up on a contract negotiation. If you're beating Ponzinibbio, you're on a 5-5 win streak. Man, that looks a lot better.
Oh, much better.
You can find yourself in the top ranks in welterweight. Sounds a lot better, and a much better chance to get that upper echelon as far as money is concerned. So yeah, money had a lot to do with this, I'm sure.
And it's really interesting because we talk about this, and Duffy is a big proponent of the action welterweight bracket. You know, Alex Morono's and Caleb Williams, Nico Price, Randy Brown, all those names. He fought them. You know, Kalen Williams, Chaos Williams, for those of you, Kalen Williams, Nico Price, Andre Fialho, who's become a real serious power puncher and had Pereira on the ropes in the first round. Ponzinibbio, those are four current action fighters, and he has gotten past them all by adjusting his style. And that's really, really interesting to me that he has developed. Because again, like I saw what he did to oh man, I know Dae-Sung Kim. It was the guy who fought in Road, where he jumped off the cage and he did a backflip stomp to the body, which, by the way, that's super illegal. I don't
Super
care
illegal.
what you do.
Yeah.
But and the jump, and he grabbed onto the cage like he was Vega from Street Fighter, and
Also
all of the
illegal.
things like that. Yo, very illegal. And he ended up beating Dae-Sung Kim with knees and stuff like that. And then to see him do that to Danny Roberts, and then record scratch and adjusting in this way is not something I would have seen coming. I would have thought he would lose to Diego Sanchez, maybe get out there against Imadaev, win that fight, and get somebody like I don't even know who is in the division, would matter, and wash his way out because he would just not learn from his mistakes. But my goodness, I can't think of a fighter who's learned from his mistakes more than Pereira in the past couple of years.
Yeah, like Pereira, until this sudden shift in his approach, I would have pegged him to be a guy who would make a good opponent for like a Donald Cerrone or something like
Yeah,
that.
sure. That's great.
Like,
That's
okay,
exactly.
these guys could be cannon fodder for
Yeah.
one another,
Yeah.
but I mean, this is like he's turning himself into a viable name in the division, which that's great for your self-preservation on multiple levels.
He'll be a top 15 guy come Tuesday.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And
whoa.
deservedly so, like very
Yeah.
deservedly so. So I'm all for it, man. And the one thing that you have to remember about these guys who can flip off the cage and tornado kicks and all this cool stuff, as a martial artist yourself, they don't teach you that on day one.
No, God,
You've
no.
got to have the
They don't really ever
fundamentals down.
teach you that. If I'm being honest with you, you
Yeah.
kind of say, I want to do this, and they'll say, okay, here's how you do it without breaking your leg.
Exactly. Like this is so in order to get to that point where you can pull these sort of things off in a fight, you've got to have the fundamentals down pretty good.
That is actually, that's a really good point you make, because because some of the things he was doing poorly against Connolly, a lot of it was because he was fatigued, but even Connolly's jab was effective against Pereira, because Pereira was trying to just bomb him with stuff, and seeing him devolve in that way, like what if Raymond Daniels were 10 years younger and dialed it down a little bit?
Hmm.
Oh, we might be having that in Michel Pereira here.
Yeah, like you look at like someone like Israel Adesanya, like
Yeah,
who's capable of doing all sorts of just gnarly things at any second of the day, or Anthony Pettis and during
definitely.
his reign, like the guys who are capable of doing that have excellent fundamentals for the most part. So yeah, so I'm not surprised that Pereira had this in him. I'm just surprised that he's actually executing it.
That's a good way to put it.
All right, so let's keep things pushing here. Cheetah Anjakawani is making quite the hype train for himself. Do you think it's justified? Should he be taking on tougher opponents before we start anointing him the next coming of the Action Christ? And I just made that up.
I love it. Well, I'm trying to dial up his really impressive voice that he had going there, because a lot of people hadn't heard him speak before,
It's such
and
a sexy voice, huh?
it's beautiful. And obviously, having listened to him and Bellator and Tachi and all those years, I'm like, have you never listened to him? Anyway, this has been Cheaty. This is the kind of thing he is a real killer bee killer. Like Chitty Bang Bang is a top 5 nickname because not only is it great,
So
it
appropriate.
fits him. It fits him so well. Like he's going to be able to do this and walk through guys and just smash them in the face with an elbow. There will be a ceiling, and we know that ceiling because he ran into it recently. Like Rafael Calvario stopped him or slowed him down. John Salter choked him out not long ago. Like this isn't something that we know. Okay, he's still coming into his own. Like he's 33. He isn't a 28-year-old Pajeda, and he's fought 30 times now. So he's seen a lot of what you can see. Because I mean, seriously, he's been. You think of the promotions he's tossed around. I mean, he was in King of the Cage. He was in Legacy before it was LFA. He was in RFA. I don't think he ever. No, he did. He was in LFA after the merger,
Yeah, and
and he tossed around
he was in Ring of
Bellator.
Fire,
He
and
was in he was in Ring of Fire. He was with. He might have been at the event that you called in Tachi Palace. I don't remember. We'll figure that
no,
out.
I definitely would
Oh,
remember
okay.
calling his fight. Yeah.
Oh darn! But the point, and he had a long stint in Bellator, like 8 fights in Bellator. Um, so he's going to be able to do this to some people. I'm curious how the UFC responds to him because he's getting a following, which if you knew the guy, he's charismatic and he's line him up, let's take them all out, and that's he's got an endearing quality about him, and the big smile, and his brother is the happiest, like. Do you remember when Sergio Pettis won the title and Anthony Pettis was over the moon about
Yes.
that kind of that wholesome family happiness? That's Anthony when Sheedy got that knockout. I just seeing him go, yes, oh yes, he did, and success like that. I want to see him fight somebody else. I don't want to like not like a Maki Bitolo. Well, he's gone. Not Maki Bitolo. Puna Soriano, a kind of another heavy-handed iron chin kind of guy. I'm afraid they're going to put him against like a Wolf soon, and I don't think it's time. Like there's no rush. You don't need to make him fight. I don't know, Edmund Shabazian, something weird like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe is it me? Can you kind of feel that coming? Like this is a guy who had knocked out Marc-Andre Barrio in 15 seconds, and he knocked out Dusko. But both guys are under 500 in the UFC, so it's not smashing the doors down. But I can still feel that the UFC is going to kind of push this cat to a degree that you're going to be like, I don't know.
You know what? I think they might not pump the gas on him too hard just yet because this is his second fight in the UFC in like 3 months or something
Yeah,
like that.
he just debuted in like February or something.
Yeah, so I mean, this is if he keeps up this pace, like he's gonna be pretty active, and the UFC has a very active schedule, and if they
Mm-hmm.
want to keep a guy fresh, they want to keep a certain level of excitement that's consistent that Andrew Kawani brings to the table. Don't put him up against the guys that are going to wreck that out of him just yet.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I do think there will be a point, and maybe we'll reach that before the year is out. If he if he fights again in 3 months and does the same thing and fights again in 3 months, and then we're talking about December-ish where maybe he takes a big step up. But if they wanna just have a guaranteed action guy somewhere on this card, don't push him too hard too fast.
Give him like a Jordan Wright,
Yeah,
another
yeah.
action guy like a Jamie Pickett's going to stand right there in front of him. Don't give him like a Bruno Silva after he fights Gerald Mearshart or something weird like that. I don't know. I have that feeling in my chest of the UFC is going to do him wrong, and I don't want them to because he's not a Contender Series guy. Remember, he's not. He's an ex Bellator guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is a Contender Series guy, which means he came in
Oh
on a
wait, he
pretty
what?
cheap contract.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like I thought. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe they think of him more of a Bellator guy as opposed
Oh
to a
wait, no,
Contender
I'm
Series guy.
sorry. You're right. He was a Contender Series. He
Yeah,
did fight in 2021. I
yeah,
totally forgot that. My bad.
yeah. Well, actually, I thought you were just making a comparison, saying like, well, he's probably thought of as more of a Bellator guy than a Contender Series guy because of that.
I think so. I
Yeah,
think in that regard he is.
Yeah, but which does make sense because of his long stint there,
Yeah,
but he's on that cheap contract.
yeah,
So
that's a good point.
depending on how many fights are on that contract, man, just go ahead and keep him steady,
Throw
keep it
Dolce
active.
Lumcomiana at him,
Yeah.
or Lugiampula, my apologies, or Roman Dolidze. I can see the bombers who they can put in front of and make it fun. I mean, because then otherwise you're going to do like Ian Heinisch. You'll be like, ooh, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
like
that one.
not sure. And like you said,
Yeah,
Shapazian, like probably too
yeah,
much. You
yeah,
know, yeah, like the when you start, even when you look at the bottom 15, I mean the bottom of the top
yeah,
15,
yeah,
you know, a thing like, okay, when Chris Weidman just seems like
yeah.
even if
That's cruel.
he probably could beat him, you know, based on what might be left of Weidman, but still that just doesn't.
To go from Dusko to Nurkovic
Yeah,
to Chris Weidman.
that's just wild. Like that's wild. And also it's one of those things that will signal that you're really boosting up. And I don't think they're quite ready to do that depending on that contract. So all right, Jay, let's keep it moving, man.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva. Oh man, this is a fun guy to talk about always. He had a stellar showing in his latest boxing bout against Bruno Machado. Like before we even get into the actual question on the outline, man, what did you think of that fight? Did you watch that one?
Yeah, I did. Well, first of all, the provider, the promoter did a very, very poor job at running that fight card, because if you remember correctly, there was the fight, I forget, I don't remember what the fight was, and then there was a 20-minute concert with some girl that I'd never heard of, and she was lip syncing very obviously, and it was very weird, and nobody in the crowd cared. Then there was an hour and a half of commercials for Abu Dhabi. So I sat there, because I was off. I was able to just kind of not really tune it, be paying attention to it. So for the people that sat down really to watch Anderson Silva, oh my gosh, I kept waiting for Anderson Silva to turn it up. Is that weird to say? Like he got that, like soapboxing for a second here. I hate exhibition fights. There's no point to them. There's no point. There's no point at all. If you can't win the fight, and if it doesn't matter, so you're saying comfortably and confidently that it's just a cash grab, and that the result itself doesn't matter, then what's the point of a fight? Like I am a purist in that regard. I'm If you want to have celebrities box, fine, but make it a pro boxing match. Don't make it a 4 round exhibition, slappers only. No, make it strap on 12-ounce gloves or whatever the weight class specific is for, as they go up. Make it a standard so and so weight contest, and 3 minutes instead of two, and the right amount of rounds, and just do a boxing match. Why is that so hard? Like, what is the point in making an 8-round 2-minute fight?
Yeah.
Why not 3 minutes? I mean, you saw the Floyd part at the end where Floyd was talking to the promoter? Was he talking to the commission? He was asking somebody to make it 3 rounds. He was in the middle of the fight. Floyd Mayweather, besides carrying the ring card and dancing around like having all the fun, was saying we need to make this 3 rounds, and I'm surprised they didn't give it to him. And then I kept thinking I wanted to see Silva turn it up, and then I remembered it's an exhibition. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
can knock him out. You can KO this UAE Warriors lightweight champion, which that's, by the way, what he is. He's a UAE Warriors lightweight MMA champion. And then what? That's the end of it. And it kind of hurt my feelings to see, because I wonder, if this had been a real pro fight, would Silva have turned it up after he got that knockdown and finished it up?
I think so.
I did too.
Yeah, I think it seemed to be that he kind of carried him in that one.
Yeah.
But I was thinking this is very common with boxers, like that they want to get the rounds in.
Okay.
And we hadn't seen, or what was the last time he fought, was like
Tito.
it was like September of last year when he fought
Yeah.
Tito, right? And
I mean,
he finished him
we can't really say fought Tito. He kind of
he just
nuked Tito.
turned Tito into a punching bag
Yeah.
for like half a round or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think with that infrequency of fight time, he probably just wanted to get his time in. And then when you're talking 2-minute rounds, which I agree is really silly, you don't have a lot of real estate to work with. So
No.
he's just going to maximize that. So when he and at that one moment that he did turn it up, he got the knockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It was the
one. So
body, body,
he's
body, 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 body. He was kind of just goofing
yeah,
around, tap, 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 tap,
and
tap,
then
tap,
he's
tap,
like,
bang. It's
yeah,
like
so the head was open, and
that.
he just pow, just cracked him with that right hand. Like I think that Anderson Silva, with this was a real fight, he would have absolutely annihilated him. And I think if this weren't the return to competition after such a long stretch of inactivity, then it would have been sort of the same thing. This Anderson wanted his rounds in. And because even look at the caliber of opponent that he was fighting, or at least like name value and pedigree and stuff, nowhere near the name of a Tito
Size.
Ortiz or the boxing pedigree of a Chavez Jr. So Jay, let me toss you a question.
Yeah.
While I'm mentioning Chavez Jr., Ortiz, and this sort of step down in prestige. Um, do you think it's time for that prestige fight now for Anderson Silva? I mean, do you think this is the time for like that big boxing match for him?
I wish I could cite who it was on Twitter because I think it was Jed Meshew, but I'm not 100% that it was Jed. That Silva's doing the celebrity boxing thing backwards. Like he went from JCC Junior, which was the fight. I'm like, wow, this is I mean,
Like a real
obviously,
boxer, yeah.
obviously Junior is not what he was
Yeah.
at one time, and he has had a lot of mental lapses and all the things we talk about. Is
Hmm.
a legit boxing match, and they had a legit boxing match despite the really dumb split decision because Silva won that fight going away. And then he had the Tito celebrity box off, and now he's got the UAE Warriors MMA fighter who is like 4 divisions lighter than
Yeah.
him.
It's like that fight to let people know, like, oh, I actually can box.
It's
And
it's
yeah,
he's
it's
doing it
like
the other direction, and I don't understand exactly what is happening. Like he's 47. I watched this fight and I thought he needs to fight more. Do the boxing thing. Do you know how many 1 in 10 rates you could find over there? Oh my gosh! If you want to fight any sort of frequency and you want to do it the awful can crushing, the record padding way that gets you the rounds in, why wouldn't you do that? Are you concerned that like a 2-8 guy is going to knock your block off? I can't imagine that's going to happen. They probably take him out back and snuff him if they knock Anderson Silva after the fight. I want the money fight, but you know who doesn't want the money fight? The people that would be in the money fight against him,
yeah,
because that moment that 47-year young Anderson Silva body slipped a shot up right hand over the top, and he dropped him and almost put him out, and that was probably 50%. That
yeah.
was not even close to a full power Anderson Silva. That moment made which Paul, I don't know which Paul, the Pauls go,
Yeah.
uh-uh.
Yeah, there's a
And
reason why Anderson has been left out of the call outs from Jake Paul. There is a reason, and I believe that is the exact reason why.
oh
Um,
yeah,
at this point, I mean, obviously, it'll be silly to rank Anderson Silva anywhere near in boxing terms near someone like Roy Jones Jr., who they've been linked together for years. Like,
but why not,
but
right?
if you put it together at this point, man, Anderson might win that fight.
I would I
But if you're Roy Jones, do you want to put your legacy on that? So it's like so the guys that we can think of that would make sense in the quote unquote money fight, man, they want to get their money elsewhere.
yeah. Yeah, because he's 53, and
Yeah.
it's telling. When he
Yeah.
fought Tyson, you could see that he was slower than
Yeah.
Tyson, and that's not something I expected to see
Exactly. And that's
in
that's one
their
of those.
exhibition. By the way, sorry to interrupt you
Oh
again.
yeah, absolutely. You're good. You're good, man.
Exhibition.
Yeah, so even like when you look at Roy Jones, I mean Roy Jones and Anderson Silva, beyond the attempts to put that fight together for the past 15 years or whatever the case is,
Yeah,
uh yeah, like they have been so similar in their primes. And the thing we've seen with Roy Jones in the latter stages of his career was that his style does not age well. Like he
yep,
physically can't do that.
yep.
But now we're seeing Anderson Silva still doing the same sort of stuff in boxing now. Like it's like Anderson Silva's like absorbed Roy Jones's energy or something, and is out there just making quick worker dudes. Um, I'm I would love to see one of the Pauls, particularly Jake,
Get
sign on
laid
the dotted
out.
line. Yeah, I would love to see, because at this point I'm not going to talk ill of Jake Paul's boxing skills. Like, this is a guy who, granted, he hasn't fought the
Is he the one
top
that fought
tier
Mayweather,
boxers.
or is that the other one?
That's Logan that fought
Oh, okay.
Mayweather. Yeah, he's the one that knocked out Woodley.
Oh, okay.
And you're talking about within, this same size wise, it makes sense. For what Jake is trying to do, as far as this increasing the name value of the people he's fighting while still not fighting legitimate boxers.
Yes.
This is perfect for him if he thinks he can win. I don't think he thinks he can win.
I want to ask you one question.
Of course.
If they made that Paul Anderson Silva fight, and obviously it's a pay-per-view of like $75 to $100, would you purchase it?
Hell yes.
I would not. And that's weird. I'm not saying I'd illegally stream it. No, I would catch up later. I would not. I don't think I could.
I would. At this point, I'm not even going to deny the entertainment value of it. Like, I would be depriving myself of
I'm not,
something.
and I'm not
really
judging
yeah.
you about it
Oh
either.
no,
I'll tell you.
Oh yeah,
They're
and
spectacles.
I get judged all the time. I don't care. So like, I really
I'm still
think
judging
that
about scoring for Holly Holm.
ah
Anyway, carry on.
you open scorer, you. I really
As an insult, that'd be so funny to use that as an insult on MMA Twitter. Oh man, we might
you're
change
just an
the meta
open
here.
scorer.
Yes.
You lowly open scorer. All
Oh
right.
man, we could make a real fun thing out of it. Okay, we're gonna have to circle back on this.
That's a meme.
Put a pin in this. I'm
Yeah.
good for that.
We're gonna revisit this episode very soon.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. Let's keep things moving. We don't have a whole lot left to talk about, but we're making good time. We'll kind of wrap it up within the hour here. I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons, the greatest title segment in all of media history. Jay, what is your I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment this week?
I am not surprised, Mr. Falcons, that no MMA promotion worth its salt will dare go against KSW this weekend on Saturday. Now, we recall the UFC used to run Memorial Day fight cards, many of them. You can look it up on the internet. You don't have to need me to tell you the Memorial Day fight cards that were, they were rocking shows. They were pay-per-views. And they're not going this weekend. And that is because KSW will be happening on Saturday in Lodz, Poland at the Atlas Arena. And why does that matter? And why would no one dare to go against them? Because the headliner is Mariusz Pudzianowski and Michel Pereira. And I've spoken about this fight before. And I might have even used this segment to talk about it before. But my excitement level is disproportionate for how it should be, given what is going to happen between a 5-time world's strongest man who throws, grand pianos full of molten lead out of a 2-story building, whatever the hell they do these days, and Michel Pereira, a guy who has never fought above 205 pounds. And Pereira can win this fight. And that's the craziest thing, that this is a weight classes exist for a reason, but type of fight. And I don't know why I'm so excited about this fight. It doesn't make sense. It's not an exhibition. It's a legitimate professional MMA contest. If it were an exhibition, I wouldn't care. Maybe that's what that is. To see Pereira, who has basically all of the records, it would be like GSP going up to fight Tim Sylvia. Not the best in the world, not the best that's ever done it, but a monster of a man that has put in his time and done a lot of things. Would you watch GSP versus Tim Sylvia? Hell yes, you would. And I don't care. I don't care how this is going to turn out. It's going to be pure joy and nonsense for as long as it lasts. And there will be a knockout. And it might not be Pudzianowski who puts him out. And that's the craziest thing about this whole mess. I am not surprised, Mr. Falcons, that I am so uncomfortably excited that I will actually be running the play-by-play on Sherdog.com for this fight card. That's how excited I am about it.
It almost sounds like you volunteered to run play-by-play for this
I
one.
can neither confirm nor deny this.
Oh man, yeah. So that should be a fun one. Tank Davis fighting Saturday too on a pay
Oh
per view.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe the UFC decided, hey, let's take this weekend off. Not that Tank Davis is this huge pay per view draw, but Dana's a big boxing fan,
yeah,
and maybe the
right.
UFC staff is ready to full scale revolt so they
I
can
feel.
have
Oh,
some
I
time
feel for
off.
him.
Jesus Christ, man, you talk about overworked. Um, all right, so my I'm not surprised, Mr. Falcons moment comes courtesy of Alta,
Hey,
formerly known as Wimp to Warrior, and this is a pretty cool thing. We've talked about it on the show before, thanks to Casey, our buddy over at MMA Fighting, friend of the show, who had a fight there recently under their umbrella. Now we have three other people that are friends of the show, people that I consider good friends of mine. Oscar Willis from the Mac Life, Amy Kaplan, Fansided, and Ken Hathaway of MMA Junkie have all signed up to participate in the next round. So I'm really looking forward.
this is
They're
so
teamed up
exciting.
with Extreme Couture for this one, since they're all three based in Vegas. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that 20-week training camp. And they can decide if they want to take a fight at the end, and they'll be matched with someone similar. So that sounds like a good time. Oscar, who you guys know has been one of my best friends for some years now. I know he was trying to get into this. I think he signed up at one point, but then either, oh, you know what it was? I thought it was COVID. It was he broke his hand or something. He
Oh,
broke his hand.
dang.
Yeah, he ended up breaking his hand, so he had to drop out. But I'm glad to see he's back on there. I can't wait to talk to him about it. And I'm still trying to convince my wife to let me go ahead and jump in there. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted whether or not I'll be jumping in the Ulta cage before long. Man, I'm hoping my wife signs off on that one. So if you want to see me fight, throw it in the comments right there. I'll show it to her and see if it sways her. Probably won't swear, but it'll be fun. Yeah, so I'm pretty cool. That is a happy. I'm not surprised. So good for all of them to go ahead and make a dream come true. All right, so we don't have of the UFC card as we talked about before. We do have Tank Davis. We do have KSW. But do you think one championship might have a case for best fight card this weekend?
I don't think they have a fight card this weekend.
They don't.
Nope, that's June 3rd. I will adjust accordingly, and I'll explain what maybe the confusion here is. So, and there are no fights coming on. There are no major MMA organizations besides KSW, which is forwarding the line between major and regional because of where it operates and how it whatever. So I thought, let's look at the schedule. Let's look ahead to the fights that are coming of all the UFC and Bellator, and if there are one and PFL, whatever there's, it's on the docket. I'm going to go first to give you some time to chew on it. And think of one fight that's been announced so far, one single fight, not one championship, one fight that makes you go, oh yeah, I am really, really, really pumped to see that go down in the next couple months because we don't have anything to preview.
Oh,
And
oh, well, when you capitalize one on this
yes,
outline,
I
I was like,
real as soon as I
like,
wrote it, I
yo, what?
realized this could be fun. I mean, there's so many really tasty fights out there, like Calvin Cater, Josh Emmett, oh boy, or Glover Teixeira, Yuri Prochazka, holy smokes, that's violent. I mean, Weili Zhang, Jacek running him back again. There's all kinds of things like that. And I'm going to say one that will get some disagreement, and I'm okay with it because it's off the beaten path and it is very interesting. It's a about. I don't think you could have a bigger classic style matchup than this fight that is happening on July 9th and an ESPN card. So it's not a pay per view. It's not a big thing. Not even a main event. I think it might be the co main event to the ESPN card. And no, obviously, if it's the co-main event, that means, and it's on July 9th, that means it is not the Rafael versus Rafael fight. No. Instead, it is the bantamweight ultimate style matchup between Cody Garbrandt and Hani Yahya. When that fight came together, the first thing I thought to myself, this could be the chance for Hanayaya to get the first knockout of his professional career. And I'm not kidding. Go to Sherdog Fight Finder. Hanayaya has 28 professional wins, 0 by TKO or KO. There's not even an accidental injury. There's not even a tap to strikes. There's nothing like that. It is all by submission. And meanwhile, Cody Garbrandt has like an 83% knockout rate with no submissions, wins or losses. And Yaya has been knocked out before. Like let's not get it twisted. He's 37. He got knocked out by, oh boy, we got to go back a ways. We got to go back to like the WEC. Before that, obviously, Kid Yamamoto, that's a long time ago. So his chin is not a liability like we've seen. And Cody's 30 and getting to this. And Cody's on a long losing streak. So this is the kind of fight that the UFC puts together for like a confidence boost, right? Because Hanayaya is on a very impressive run. 5 wins, 1 loss, and a draw, dating back like to 5 years. So this is not somebody who is nothing and could finally get that win to get over that hump against Cody, who was struggling and went down to flyweight and did poorly against Kai France and moving back up. I get that weird feeling in my chest. That weird feeling, not a dangerous thing, don't have to call the authorities or anything like that, that Hanayaya could get it done. And I don't think the betting lines are available quite yet for this fight card. And if they are, the props are definitely not. That I'm looking at Hanayaya here and I'm going, boy, this could be a crazy upset because Cody Garbrandt will be a huge favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
The puncher or whatever, and he's got great jits. Team Alpha Male is known for the guillotine, if nothing else. So I don't know what it draws me to that fight. And I talked about it an extended amount of time so that you could take your time to also think of that one fight that jumped out for you, because for some cosmic reason, Cody Garbrandt versus Hanayaya is the fight that I want to see more than Glover Teixeira and Yuri Prochazka. So please.
That is an excellent one right there.
It's a weird one, don't worry. You don't have to go esoteric.
I've got one that's very strange for you. And I don't know if this makes sense to just reveal my flaw as a man. Make sure I got the fight card right. Make sure the fight card is right so I don't screw up the date. So this is on June 18th.
I wish I could be at that fight card. That is a pay-per-view worthy fight card almost.
Oh, Qatar versus Emmett in the main event there, which is an excellent main event. Yes. Also, Cerrone and Lozon rescheduled for that one. But I got a deep cut for you.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Will there be a very distinct size discrepancy in the matchup?
Yeah. There'll
okay.
be.
Carry on.
It'll look weird.
Please.
I'm very tempted to go the route. It's like, okay, this makes all the sense in the world because Tim Means and Kevin Holland are on that card.
Yep.
I'm gonna get weirder. Phil Haas, Deron Wynn.
Yes.
This is perfect. This is perfect for all the wrong reasons. Sign me all the way up. I can't wait to see this. It's just gonna be nuts. Like, and it may not be a good fight, but I just want to see them stand next to each other and just like, wow, this makes no sense. And I'm a disturbed man for enjoying this. So that is the fight that I'm looking forward to.
Love it.
And it's really a shame that you just know me that well.
No, it's not a shame. I'm proud. I'm proud that when you there was just a little bell that rang, and I thought, I almost was going to go the route of, will the smaller man miss weight because of the two?
I mean, this is why I watch MMA, so I can see stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, I think this is not the first time or the second time that the UFC is trying to make this fight, by the way. This is a fight that has fallen through multiple times. And it's finally coming together after. I mean, Wynn hasn't fought since 2020. Like, seriously, he's been out for a year and a half now and counting.
Yeah, so this should be interesting for multiple reasons. And if any of those reasons are good, I don't know. I'm not the one to judge that, but
doesn't matter.
I'll be watching. So there's that. All right, man. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Living Death Show. Big thanks to Jay holding it down through illness. to get us through another week of fun fight talk. And of course, you can find him on SureDog.com. There'll be play-by-play and all that fun stuff because that man is a savage about his work. So be on the lookout. And of course, remember to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. Stay beautiful, stay positive, and stay sexy. See you when I see you. Peace.